Hello and welcome to a Paladin's Impressions, where I take a look at games I just don't have the time to review right now. Today we're taking a look at the game called Obey. Obey is an early access game, by the way, the first one I've done in this series, so just be aware that what you see may not be the final product when it's fully released. I'm not really sure if I'm going to do future videos with early access titles, but I have thoughts on this game right now. I felt like this was the best time to do it, so I'm doing a video on it. In my opinion, no harm, no foul. I may return to this game later if updates prove to be worth looking at. Obey is a multiplayer party sort of deception strategy game. Your primary goal is to make $10,000 or 10,000 currency. And you do this by being in this giant map and doing things to follow the person who's manning the giant gun as you saw me walking towards. Now, how money is made gets a little bit more tricky because the general standard default behavior is that you're a bunny. If you're not the canon, you're a bunny that takes items from the landing area and takes them off to a depository. This depository immediately rewards you with money if, by the way, you collect it, and otherwise just following the orders of said leader in charge. The leader has absolute power. He's got a minigun that doesn't run out of ammo. He can shoot rockets and lay waste with a flamethrower. He also has a protective electricity net around him that he can activate at certain times if he thinks there's bunnies nearby. So you might think, well, that sounds kind of overpowered, and kind of is. That's the whole point. But the trick of it is that there is no radar. You have to keep a visual eye on where all the bunnies are and make sure that they're behaving. By the way, getting items put into that dropship and that dropship dropping them off. So you keep the bunnies busy, they follow your orders, everything's hunky-dory, unless one of the bunnies just happens to stray off the path, and then you're looking for him, and meanwhile the other bunnies realize you're distracted and maybe also suddenly leave and decide to do their own nefarious thing while you're distracted, and then you're looking around and, oh lord, every bunny is gone, and oh geez, everyone get back, I order you, I'm your leader, and then you're pretty sure they're at your front door because the only way they can overthrow you is if they get to your front door, so you're like, activate the energy net, oh yes, I got a few, they're dead, they'll all get back in the... And why am I suddenly in the dropship? This game initially appears a very simplistic multiplayer game, and the graphics are a little deceptive in that regard. I won't lie. When I first saw video footage of this, I want to say like half a year ago, I'm like, this isn't really catching my eye. And that might have been not the most ideal choice for this game, considering that there's a lot of hidden complexity underneath the surface, especially when you get human beings involved. This game is obviously played the best with other human beings. The bots are decently okay in this game. They work. They certainly do their job, but the real meat of this game is only experienced when you have 5 or more players who are experienced with all the little minutiae of this game and really try and dig into it. So as I said, your goal is to make 10,000 currency. Whether by being the leader or by being one of the subordinate bunnies. And there's all sorts of interesting social things that can go on. You can either be subservient, wear the collar all the time, which, by the way, the collar gives you more passive in currency as long as you wear it. It also means that the dictator has full and total control over you because one press of a button and you're dead. There you go. Now, the main form of things that you want bunnies to be putting in the depository are uranium, but there's also energy batteries, there's flamethrower and rocket weapon ammo, and there are also fences, and you can have your bunnies set up lights to make sure that the area is well lit. There's different ways of controlling players and setting up the area so that you, as the supreme overlord, have an easier job. Meanwhile, either your bunnies are being subservient to you, or they're just trying to overthrow you, and keeping a track of all these different bunnies and making sure they have their collars on is maddening. I mean, yeah. I'm sorry. Explaining this game is a lot harder than I initially thought it was. So let me simplify it. There is one person who is in the tower, in the gun tower, who is the quote-unquote leader, and the rest of you are bunnies. You're basically the workers, and you can either follow the leader and both benefit him and yourself, or you can try and overthrow the leader or screw other players. Choice is yours. As you might have noticed, money gets thrown out in these big green triangles. That means when you deposit something in the depository, you don't automatically get that money. No, other bunnies can contest you for it. So yeah, you can get dicked over by your own people. This game can really screw with you. And from what I've heard, if you have a player base of experienced people in a game like this, it can get pretty darn difficult. As a bunny, your only options are to hop, as it were, which doesn't really give you anything, and pick up items and set them other places. Now, if you're killed as a bunny and someone takes your corpse to the depositor, the leader will be heavily penalized for that. So, generally, if you can pick up corpses and put them in there, that's great for you. Also, side note, while the collar does make you immediately visible to the leader, it does give you more passive income. Let's see what else. And you can be killed by everything except going underwater, which doesn't kill you at all. I feel like I don't even know if I even explained it that well with that explanation, but I think I tried as best I could. It's a game where you're both working together and also trying to screw each other over so that you can make the most money in a game. And there's a lot of hidden depth and complexity to that. Do you remain subservient to the overlord until the last minute and then screw him over? Do you just hide out somewhere in the map and just let everyone eat each other? There's a lot of different ways you can play this game, and it's hard to explain just from a fairly short video. But I think I've done a reasonable job of explaining the whole idea of it. So yeah, this is a niche strategy game. The graphics and sound effects have been very good for this game. I have no overall complaints with it. I think they did a very good job from that perspective. The game's been in early access and is slated to come out later this year, I believe, or maybe next year. The game as it currently stands is in a very functional state. Multiplayer works really well. I don't think I ran into any significant lag while I was playing, and the voice chat in the game works really well. So as far as from a technical perspective, as far as content is concerned, I think you get value for this game. With the major caveat. This game doesn't have a multiplayer community that much right now. I've tried to go to 3 tournaments that are being officially held by the game company. Only one of them has actually had enough people to show up to, play. And during the rest of the week, there isn't really many people around. There's a very, very small community, and there's no real indication that it's going to get bigger. So you see where my problem is. This is a multiplayer online only game, but there's nobody playing it right now, and it doesn't appear that more people are going to be playing it. And that sucks. There's no reason this game shouldn't be played, because, again, technically it's really nice. There's, the map is randomly generated, so every game isn't the exact same, and there's different strategies you can employ to screw with not only other people, but with the boss himself. But no one's playing it. And that's the biggest problem with Obey right now. And that sucks. But that's the reality of it. It's hard to recommend buying on your own. If you can get a group of friends to come play this game, try and figure out all the little minutiae, little mechanics, then yeah, I think it's worth your time. It's an enjoyable it's just an enjoyable game. The content is maybe lighter than it should be, especially for a multiplayer game. The random generation does help, but what you see on the screen is basically what you get, and there is a point where you're going to run out of interesting or new ideas that you can do. So do I recommend Obey right now? Yes and no. But mostly I lean towards no, simply because there is no multiplayer community that seems to be creating itself, that seems to be naturally growing and progressing. Maybe things get better when it leaves early access. Apparently the developer has a major update coming down the pipeline, but right now, right here, it's not happening, and I don't have any evidence to say, here's a major patch. I think it's a really interesting idea, and I think it was really well executed. It's just a shame that so far it's not quite getting the amount of people that maybe it should be. Anyway, I hope that answered your questions on what this game is about and what I think about it. If you have any further questions about it, please feel free to leave a comment down below. And until next time, I've been KingIsaacLinksr taking a look at Obey.